Welcome to step 19, determining your cash flow. So now that you understand your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, your discretionary expenses, and hopefully, if you have any, your savings expenses, you have a much better understanding of a very important indicator of financial management, your cash flow. Simply defined, your cash flow indicates how much money you have coming in on a monthly basis and how much is going out. And most importantly, it tells you if you have a positive or negative difference between those two numbers. So just to follow that up, positive cash flow is the money that you have coming in. This can leave you with two possible states. Positive cash flow, where at the end of the month, you have money left over. And importantly, this signifies that you're living within or below your means and working towards building a secure financial future. You need positive cash flow. So of course, negative cash flow is the opposite of that. You have more money going out than coming in, and generally one of two things are happening to sustain this. You are building up debt or you're eating away at your savings. Now, sometimes negative cash flow is inevitable. If you are a seasonal employee, for example, you might make a lot of money at one point of the year, and then throughout the rest of the year, you're living off of the money that you earned. But generally, you want to avoid negative cash flow as much as possible unless it's unavoidable. There's also the possible state of neutral cash flow, indicating that you're using all of your money for a purpose. It could be argued that this is the ultimate goal you should be working towards. This could be especially true if your savings expenses are well represented in your overall expenses. So for example, if you have $100 left over at the end of the month, if you're in a state of neutral cash flow, well, that means you've decided to take that extra $100 and put it towards paying off debt or investing, and just generally decide to do something with that money instead of having it just sit around. So to round out this step, we need to calculate our cash flow. To do that, we need to add up all of our monthly expenses together, including the savings expenses. And we do that because even though that money is going towards helping your overall financial situation, it's still money leaving your account. We'll keep this in mind, and in step 48, we'll look at your savings expenses separately from your overall cash flow in order to calculate your savings rate. But for now, just get an overall cash flow and get an understanding of how to put all that together. Ideally, and this is part of the Ready Set plan, you should be looking at your cash flow as much as possible, at least on a monthly basis. Again, to calculate your current net cash flow, you start with last month's income, and depending on how much you've calculated for your expenses, and you could put in your net pay, what you take home after taxes, or your gross pay, which you get before taxes, but I would say it's probably more effective for you to look at your net pay, generally because you don't look at income tax as part of your overall expenses month to month. If you're someone who's self-employed or you work on commissions with a lot of bonuses or things of that sort, just try to put down your average or the absolute minimum of your monthly income. Then total all of your last month's expenses. Remember, those were fixed, variable, discretionary, and savings. And then subtract your expenses from your income, again, probably your net income, and that's your monthly cash flow. And this is a great number to have, but where it really gets power is once you start to do this month to month, so you better understand your financial health and how you're trending. Again, your goal is to be cash flow positive on average. And if you really want to take it to the next level, be cash flow neutral, but by all means, try to avoid being cash flow negative, especially on average. So in my opinion, this will do so much more for you than just a simple budget because it gets you to look at the macro scale of how you're spending your money, whether more money is coming in than going out, things of that nature. Furthermore, it helps you to be able to identify things such as, well, on average, if I spent $300 less on discretionary expenses per month, well, that would help me to be cash flow positive more often than not and help me to start to bolster my emergency fund and start to put money away. Insight like that is so much more valuable than saying, well, if I just cut back on the coffee, then yeah, I'd have more money. No, this is just like how we needed to graduate from thinking about our value as how much money we brought in through a paycheck versus a net worth mentality. In the next step, we're going to follow this up and reinforce it some more by looking at a money map, which will help you better, which will better help you understand where your money is being spent and how it's being spent.